There we go.
Okay. I'm Dick Malcolm. We also have Barry. Barry, you could introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great, okay. All right, so, to start, we'll start with the approval of the minutes, the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was held on the January 13th. Send all that out there. Is there any discussion on those meetings?
Second,
It looks fine. We put the long stuff in meeting stuff. All right, I move that we approve the meeting, the community center building committee meeting minutes of January 13th, 2025. Is there a second?
yes, second,
Thank you. Are you in favor? Approved.
Yes.
David. Barry.
yes,
And I am a yes as well. Okay, thank you. All right, next order of business is Collier's Project Leaders Amendment 4. Just a little history on this is Collier's our owner's project manager, been assisting the town in going through this project. Their contract expired due to the length of time and the delays with the construction of the community center. We had this is amendment 4 to the original contract. Amendment 3 took them through January, so they this amendment now would cover their services to the town for the months of February, March, and April. And then there is a closeout period, which has which would follow for 2 months. The proposed 3 months of additional services would be on a time and material basis with a not to exceed of 90,000. And this is with the still holding the rates from 2023. And then this is all very, this is pretty much identical to amendment 3, with the exception of these extra months. And then we go to the closeout months, which would be in May and June. And that's at a already agreed upon fixed rate, which is set up in the previous contracts. So is there discussion on this Collier's Project Leaders Amendment 4? Actually, I'd like to start out with a question that I have. And that is, so you're on time and material basis for, you're thinking probably the next 3 months, right? If the project actually doesn't take quite as long, it's time and material basis, you're billing for the time that's incurred. How do we know when the closeout period starts? When does the T&M end, and when does the fixed fee closeout begin?
Yeah, so in this scenario, the close-up period will begin at the end of Amendment 4. So basically, that would be May and June. So May is when the close-up period will begin, May and June. And the way that the amendment is structured, if we go, because I know the building committee asked for a fee to get us through the end of the project. So say there's services that we need to, the project still needs services during the month of July. What we said is if there's any fee left over from the not to exceed, we would just use that to cover our services for the month of July if there's any services needed during that month.
Okay, so for instance, is it really a cut and dry demarcation point of saying, okay, now we're in closeout?
Yep.
So, and what defines, I guess, when that starts? What is, could you give the definition?
Yep. It would be May 1st. So starting May 1st is when we start the close-up period. So February, March and April will be on the time and material not to exceed. And then after that, we start the two closeout months that we have under our original contract. And then if there's any additional services that are still needed after that, we would just use whatever remaining fee from the not to exceed to cover those services.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
These, I have a quick question.
Very.
Are these fees, which are as a result of the delays, are they added to our claim for offset?
Yes, they are, Barry. And every month we reconcile against what damages the town has incurred. And then we adjust the amount that we're withholding from the contractor based on that. And this is all following Nina's recommendation.
But is this just for the $1,500 a day is all we're allowed to withhold from them?
So in this particular contract, typically in a lot of contracts, you're limited to that liquidated damages. In this particular contract, we can actually withhold actual damages, so which have been a little bit higher than the $1,500 per calendar day. And so we're withholding the actual damages to the town, even if they exceed the $1,500.
That was going to be one of my follow-up questions between the architect and you all. You're using literally all of the penalty that should be coming to the town for lack of use.
Yeah, so we're withholding whatever the town's damages are. So also including, there's a container rental that the town is currently using. So because that is part of the damages. And then we also coordinated with Carl Valenti to see if there was any interest on the amount that's being borrowed. That would also be part of the damages. And the answer to that is that there was no, interest damages on that. And so we're withholding everything that we know the town is incurring as damages because of the delays on the project. So if you guys are paying, if the town is incurring costs for renting spaces, then we would want to know what those are and include them as part of the calculation. My understanding was that there was no other cost, but like if there's any additional.
Yeah, there's.
Okay.
I don't know how we could not have interest charges because we've actually paid out funds, so we're utilizing that cash. So we do have some cash left over, which would be a positive arbitrage, but we have paid out a considerable amount of cash, so wouldn't that be an interest expense?
Yeah, very understood. I mean, again, we touched base with Carl Valenti, and I'm trying to find his email right now. But I know that he looked into this, and we had a phone call with him and Michael Blanchard, and my understanding was that there was no damages to the town. I was with you. I thought that potentially we would see an interest, charged because of the delay, but that's the information that we received so far. I'm gonna see if I can try and Carl Valenti, see if there's any more information there.
Yeah, because in running an account for bond proceeds in the past, my company has accounted for expenditures, interest charges against expenditures. So at any one day, you can tell how much the interest is costing because that's the amount you've expended. So I'm just curious about that. But and how about architects' fees that would be during the extended period? Is that also being withheld?
It is. All the architect's fees are being withheld. Yep. And I'm pulling up my email right now, and I can certainly go back to Carl Valenti with your comments, Barry, and see if just double check on this. So we'll plan on doing that. But I just pulled up the email from Carl where I just wanted to see if there's any more detail here. And I know we had a meeting after this, and I can go back to Carl and see if just double check on this.
Okay.
Yes.
Could we get a breakdown on the different elements of the withholding amount?
Yep, I have that. I can actually pull it up if you give me a second here, and I can tell you what coming from where. Okay. Sec. Jeez, it's opening up. Okay, so I'm gonna just share my screen here. This is a breakdown of the incurred damages. And so for the month of October, we have the OPN that was $28,080. Architect was 25,000. So the total for the month of October was 54,000. Total for the month of November was 55. Now January, as you can see, we do not have damages from FMA. We'll go over that in a second. We don't have an invoice from them for the month. And so this is why these two are blank, but this is where we're tracking. So right now, and I was gonna go over this in one of the slides in the future. So right now, the damages incurred is 191,000. However, we're also withholding an additional 52,500 for the documents not being. Basically, this is it's called preemptive withholding. So it's based on the on when the contractor is anticipating completing the project and the documents not being provided. So today we're withholding 243,000, which is an additional 19,000 from last month. That's the difference. So the 19,000 is actually what we're withholding, the additional withholding during for the January payment period.
Absent the architect.
Yeah, so the architects will be, because the town's not gonna pay them for the month of January, it's not an actual damage yet, so that'll be captured in the February payment.
Got it.
Okay.
Sorry?
Has.
Yes. With every pay up, yes, correct. No,
Have
they don't accept them, but
Have we furnished this detail to the contractor, or do we just withhold it?
yeah, so with every pay up, we give them, there's a letter that goes with the pay up with the reduction and explaining why. That is, it's part of what our required kind of notification to the contractor is. So yeah, they've been notified about every withholding.
And this Nina's well aware of it. right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And is there any reaction from the contractor?
No, I mean, we've been withholding now for, probably about 6 months, and yeah, they don't agree with it. Yeah, this is something that would get settled at the end of the project.
So we're still at risk. Maybe looking 30,000. Frankly, seems a lot for the project that. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, what I could say is that right now our level of effort hasn't diminished. Collier's level of effort that's being required on the project. It's in line with us. Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot.
Yeah, nothing. The reports that we did, I'm not seeing one of the. Seeing. Really resolution positions. We got. Yeah, get in the schedule, but there's still a lot of problems. It just seems to be desperate. So I'm wondering, what are we getting for this 30 now?
Yeah, and I actually, so what I did is, in order for us to estimate what the not to exceed should be and estimate the level of effort, I sent an email to Phil, basically just listing what, what's required, and what we also anticipate to be required on this project going forward. So I can pull that up real quick and see.
And your proposal had proposed percentage. You got. I'm not, we need to be. what is the contractor's staffing? How many guys are here every day?
On the from the contractor, so they have the site super, they have a couple laborers, they have they have a full-time project manager. They have
The work, how many people are actually site?
on site, the amount of,
Contracted, I mean, there's typically 6 days a day here. I mean, we finished the stage for, a little while now, so. The pouring contractors, lighting, electricians, plumbers, just working and finishing, so there's a significant amount of activity on site during the day.
But the contractor's got a super, he's got.
Laborers.
For $1,000 a day.
Makes
And that's right, it's just this one, we still haven't finished. I'm not sure why we need that much oversight.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on, and I'm pulling it up right now here. So, so this is, for example, April, so, yep, I can definitely zoom in here. So, this is what I sent over to Phil, who's the director on the project, with, just the anticipated level of effort that we think is going to be required on the project. So let's say even as far as April, right? I mean, we'll still have, weekly OEC meetings. We're still gonna have a pay-up review. None of this is gonna change, and withholding calculations with Nina. So a lot, so, just, yeah, we have the building committee meetings,
You are coordinating the furniture, the technology.
yeah, so those are our the OPMs, consultants, yeah. There's a lot going on with the abutters, a number of issues with 12 Whiting and 4 Whiting, so we're, yeah, so we're facilitating a lot of the conversations that, for example, with the arborist that's needed, on a number of, trees, on the light, the lighting, together with FMA, of course. And, right now, for example, for writing, we're, spending a little bit of effort on the Connex container that's encroaching on town property. So trying to figure out how we're gonna be able to resolve that.
There's a back and 4 Whiting, so the back and 4 Whiting Roads property, there is a Conex that actually found to be property. It has an effect, it also have an anti-conforming property. They, in the way, to be dealt with.
Okay. I'm just concerned. The level of cost that just seemed to keep rolling, it's been 6 months. And not a lot has been resolved, they seem to be.
It's hard to, with an extended construction schedule, we keep paying. Right?
No, I understand that, but
But we need-
I'm not sure we need 30,000.
So, we can set up this amendment, set up this on a material basis.
But we're not taking.
So exercise, putting it out there. So it's okay, what are, let's do a little more deep, go into this a little deeper of what your level of effort is and what you spend on it. Say, okay, well, let's let the town take care of it. Take it on the.
That's gonna happen.
Great.
It's. Just. So, no, I agree. We just, hopefully, the contractor's gonna versus all of this, but I don't think so, so. Careful and. How we move forward.
Yeah, no, you raised the point, so they're still listening. Wow. All right, if we, why don't we do a deeper dive, and get a spreadsheet or something, a list of your services, and expected level of effort.
Yeah.
It'll be,
Sure.
we can review. This amendment, is set up as a time and materials. Okay, so it's locked into a fee for the next 3 months. So I would propose that we, take a vote on this recommendation to the selectmen. To approve this, amendment for.
Just with the 90,000 and we do for God.
Yeah, with a not to exceed of 90K. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, then I will make a motion to approve, Collier's project leaders amendment 4. Okay, are you in favor? David?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes,
Okay, and yes, as well. Okay, thanks, thanks for coming. Okay, next we have construction progress and schedule. Gets turned over to Collier's project leaders. Project leaders.
Okay, welcome everybody. So just taking you through some of the January progress, on site. Thank you all for doing this walkthrough earlier. So just through the on-site work, obviously we've been a little bit held up due to the weather, lots of snow and ice on the ground. So this rough grading is still, being worked on currently. The generator was able to be started up and commissioning is complete for that. Permanent power has been connected into the building. And the placement of the concrete walkways inside. The electricians are working on installing some of the light fixtures outside, so doing about as much as we can due to the weather, unfortunately, this time of year.
May I quickly ask? Was there any feedback from the neighbors when the generator started?
Didn't hear anything, but we are gonna be.
Hey, that's just different.
But yeah, try. No, but no, I mean, they say we don't start for the generator, but we haven't heard anything from the others, so. Yeah, if something doesn't awful, she doesn't.
Thank you, yeah.
See if we can get it to run at a specific time, but we can, or have someone measure the sound levels.
Yeah.
Property. line,
Yeah, we can sort of,
Just have some data.
yeah,
That's where I'm going, so thank you.
yeah, we can certainly do that. I mean, this was just a startup procedure, so.
Does it have the sound mitigation on it yet or not?
Stack, you mean?
Yeah.
The only mitigation at the moment is just the ceiling wall that's next to it. That divides it from the entrance to the side.
Great, so it should be more, sorry, quieter with everything installed.
I wouldn't say quiet, I mean, the sound is, it's essentially the direction of the, which way it's projecting. It's being, seen the masonry.
Do we have, is the sound, is the Jackson?
It's part of the generator. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, then that's what
Mhm.
So that's what.
Yeah.
We have all of the buildings. Potentially mute the sound or it's landscape,
And the fence.
And
Mhm.
so.
Which we've offered for them to choose, plus there's gonna be a fence.
And then it's gonna be fence.
But the data is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, we can start track that. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, that's really about it about on the site side. Like I said, still sort of pending the weather. See, it's been cold and snowy and icy these past couple of weeks, so. All right, moving on over to the pavilion. So the millwork is finishing up, the install is finishing up there. They got a couple of small things on that side. The light fixtures have been installed. The electricians are working on final control tweaks and getting everything programmed. So final painting is still ongoing in the space, and then the kitchen equipment install is also ongoing as well. They made some progress at the end of this week and today, so expecting that to finish up, by the end of this week. Flooring install obviously still ongoing there. They probably have another 4 or 5 days in that space to finish everything up. And then moving over to the gym and the connector, so the storefront doors and hardware have been installed. The contractor's waiting the door closers to get that fully complete. Ceiling tiles have been installed, the acoustic ceiling tiles have been installed in the space. The wood ceiling is still outstanding. Some of the tiles have been installed, but it's outstanding just due to the lighting controls that the electrician is still working above the ceiling, so. Some programming that needs to go on above there before they can install those tiles. In the gym, the basketball hoops and the rest of the equipment have been installed. We're working on installing the divider. Expecting that to be installed by this week. So the chains are up, the motor is up. And then lighting fixtures have also been installed there. The flooring expecting to start on next Monday, in the gym area. So that'll be about a week or so of work for install there. And then the flooring has been installed in the connector area, both first and second floors. In the 1910, all the light fixtures have been installed and final coats of paint are ongoing. Some rooms have gotten final coats of paint, and the painters are working through the rest of the space. Flooring install is ongoing. It's let's say about 75% complete. We're still missing the dance room, maybe a little bit more in the 1910, but the dance room expecting to finish up by the end of this week. The above the ceiling inspections have been completed. Acoustic ceiling install has also been completed in the dance room. That's been painted. Diffusers are installed. I think we're just waiting on the speakers to be installed in that area. And then some February progress and upcoming activities. So flooring install finishing up throughout. We've got the flooring contract is pretty much taking up most of the space in the building, or all 3 parts of the building. Factory startup of the HVAC units has been completed. They've been commissioned. We've got preliminary testing and balancing going on in the space. We do have permanent heat. The building's been charged with domestic water, so there's water in the lines. And then interior finishes, obviously still ongoing, still a lot of work to do. Got punch lists and inspections coming at the end of the month and expecting substantial completion in the early March, like the 3rd of March, the last schedule. So that's about it as far as progress. We'll run through some pictures here. So obviously on the exterior side, not a ton has changed. On the left side, the storefront has been completed on the pavilion and the connector. In the gym, a ton has changed from last month. So the exterior side of the building itself has been completed, but the sidewalks are still pending. Some of the areas are still tarped off, and we're just waiting for the weather to cooperate for us to be finishing the 400 feet. Light poles and things like that have begun to be installed, and we'll see that in slides later. So moving to the 1910 in the vestibule is sort of where most of the work is ongoing at the moment. Middle panels and finishes going on in the vestibule lookout area, and then the contractor is going to be working on finishing up the sidewalks connecting into Springdale Ave on that left side picture. To millwork progress on the in the pavilion side. All the cabinets going into the kitchen lookout window have been installed, and the chair rails, base and things have been installed as well. So on the pavilion, obviously the lighting fixtures and a lot of the millwork has been installed. Still a couple of pieces left in the wood panel wall there. Just waiting on the projector screen to be installed, and they'll finish up the millwork install. And then also final painting obviously going on in there. And on the right-hand side, it's just the connector. So obviously all the light fixtures have been installed, flooring's been installed, and it's been protected. The grid for the wood ceiling is installed, but still pending the actual panels themselves, wood panels. So on the second floor of the connector, a lot of finishes have been installed there. We've got ceiling tiles installed, lighting fixtures, flooring, and painting sort of going on throughout. Next year would be just installing the base and final paint. And then in the gym, space is beginning to be cleaned up a bit. All the equipment has been installed, lighting fixtures, the basketball hoops, and then expecting the flooring installed starting next week. So in the connector hallway on the first floor, so we've got railings, protective railings installed, flooring, panels in the staircase, railings for the staircase have also been installed as well. Painting going on here. This has been final painted, but there's still some touch-ups to get done here. And then in the first floor, the 1910 on the right-hand side, got carpet installed. Final painting, doors and hardware ongoing through here. There's still, a couple areas that need final coats of paint in the space, but and then also millwork in the space as well has been installed. So on the second floor, the flex space doesn't show it here on the left-hand side, but the ceiling tiles are all in. The divider is in, flooring is in. Currently in this space, we're just missing base, the cove base, and a couple of small miscellaneous items. And then in the dance room, got the flooring installed, and the final layer of the flooring is still pending install. It's should be upcoming this week. Ceiling is complete, lighting fixtures, diffusers, and things have been installed, and just waiting on the speakers. There will be needed a final coat of paint in this room as well. And then on the exterior, the septic system has been backfilled partially. This will need to get final inspected as soon as we finish installing the pumps for the septic system, which were delivered to the site last week. The contractor is working on getting those installed. And then that will be compacted, or backfilled, compacted, and inspected. And then the light pole install has begun on the exterior side as well. The bollards and things have been installed. That's about it as far as construction progress. Is there any questions?
That been signed off by the town?
So yeah, they've been doing progressive inspections there. The plumbing inspector has been coming out, and the health inspectors will be coming as well. So.
And you think you can backfill it before you get the frost out?
But it's not, I don't know if we can be able to backfill before frost is out. Yeah, that's also another thing that's weather dependent as well. Fortunately.
Yeah, I don't think you can actually test it until.
Yeah, it's sort of the same as the rest of the exterior work, unfortunately, where it's weather dependent, it's looking in the year, so. Yeah.
When were the lights installed in the pavilion?
Lights in the pavilion, beginning of January, and that's.
The design team gone out and looked at them.
Yeah, so Katie joins us on the walkthroughs weekly, during or after the OECs. That's it.
As they look at them, coordination with the doctor.
Right.
Yeah, and I know Katie's on, and I know they're looking into that already.
And they
Yeah.
got the same.
Yeah, I'm online and
That's
I'm,
the blocking lights and it's.
sorry, I'm having a really hard time listening to the question, but the short answer is yes, we're on site every week and I can definitely look at the lights in the pavilion.
And recreation.
Maybe short. I just have a simple reminder, the fire suppression tanks have been filled with water.
Don't believe they've been filled just yet.
And just before you have your test, obviously you're gonna need water.
I don't believe they do.
Fire alarm.
The fire alarm is still ongoing, there's still a couple poles that need to be installed. That's a lot of the open tiles that you see in the ceiling, that's really biggest thing they're finishing up at the moment.
Do we have phone lines?
Yeah, so phone lines have been pulled to the building, they're pulled as of last week. So that's the last sort of thing, they're tying into the elevator system this week into next week, and they're working on poles throughout the space. To finish up the fire alarm.
So we can have fire alarm, let's delay in the elevator.
Flooring.
The flooring, yeah, so it literally just finished up. So,
Still, I mean, signal, they're still. Instead of closely.
well, the contractor wouldn't come out until the flooring was all the way up into the elevator. So they essentially, there's just a sequencing of part to get that in. So that's been finished up. What's next on the docket is getting the elevator company in to finish up the signaling and.
Schedule.
I believe they have, I can double check and let you know when they are.
Possible, yeah. Has elevator inspections been scheduled?
I don't believe that they have been, but yeah, that's come up on our weekly OACs. We'll troubleshoot it, but I don't believe that they've been scheduled, but I can. Just because we're finishing up the flooring and. So.
Where are we on? Internet. All of that.
Still ongoing. I mean, a lot of the MDF room has been completed. As far as internet, we're going to fiber. But as far like controls are, everything's been started up, so controls and the wires and everything. And then as far as low voltage for lighting, there's still troubleshooting in a couple of areas. But some lighting controls have been completed, but they still need to do the programming with the spaces. That's progressing. Is there any other questions?
Relative to that schedule.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Igli. All right, so moving on to the construction schedule. We did receive an updated schedule as of last Thursday, and you can see some of the they changed the formatting a little bit, but you can see some of the milestones here up on the screen. So right now they're showing substantial completion in the beginning of March. Something's off here where they're showing FMA, issuing the substantial completion before the punch list on the affidavit. So that needs to be adjusted, but it looks like the beginning of March. It's when the contractor's tracking substantial completion. And again, that's substantial completion, not to be confused as to when the town will be moving into the building. After substantial completion, there's the punch list process. And we're True.
Fire alarm, that's access to the building, the fire protection. Septic. That. See any of that being really, I mean, last month it was.
Yeah.
See anything to schedule that % or that ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, if we, I'm not showing all the activities here, but if we, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of activities that are not shown here that kind of speak to that, to when inspections are going to be done, and TCO. They were planning on submitting for TCO towards the end of February. So yeah, right now this is what they're tracking for substantial completion. I'm sorry, could
Building inspector, fire chief. What they are expecting when they do that, you see a walkthrough.
yeah, so we've that's come up during the OEC meetings, because we obviously they need to sign up on the project, and we want to know exactly what they're going to be looking for. So I know those conversations have happened. M. O'Connor and fire inspectors and building inspectors, yeah.
So all everyone who needs to sign off on this has been contacted, in the past. What are you gonna be looking for? Because we don't want the surprise, right? Because, oh, I didn't. For that.
Yeah, we've been, we've talked about that in a number of OAC meetings, and we'll ask again tomorrow. So,
Definitely fire department. Look at exit signs, look at. Because they're doing mad exit signs for.
Yeah.
Which is a change order to electric.
Yeah.
You gotta get it in.
we'll ask tomorrow again. And then as far as the delays, we still have not received a corrected plan or a formal delay claim from the contractor. We're still, following the town's legal counsel's recommendations. At the end of every month, we're reconciling actual damages / liquidated damages with preemptive withholding. As of the January payment application or payment period, we're withholding an additional 19,823. So total to date, we're withholding 243,000. 191,000 of that is for actual damages / liquidated damages, and 52,500 is for failure to provide the documents required, which is what we also call preemptive withholding.
Does Connor did any additional plans? I mean, they've submitted a schedule and they're highlighting. But they're saying the delays. Have they done anything formal?
No. The only thing that I guess you could maybe call claim is, and I was gonna go over this when we go over the potential change orders, but they are including basically a time extension on almost every new pending change order that's coming through, even if those time extensions are not justified. And so when we go over the PCOs, some of these PCOs will be a CCD rather than a PCO for that reason, because they're including time extensions that are not reasonable, not part of the critical path, just to try to make up for the delays on the project.
Have you done a formal?
Not yeah. We're gonna have to. We're gonna have. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That hasn't been done yet. But we know that we were anticipating that that's gonna we're gonna have to get into the schedule and figure out because that exercise we're not necessarily getting from the contractor as to this is the number of days that we believe are borne by the town versus the number of delays that are borne by the contractor. They're basically saying all the delays are borne by the town, and so we're gonna have to dig into the schedule and determine what we believe it's reasonable. Yeah, no, we were gonna look into the schedule, and we have a lot of information and documentation that we can go back to, but it's definitely gonna be an effort. Yeah. Mhm.
It's been. Process that. It's a lot easier to do it. Month by month by month. And so. A 6-month delay that you need to analyze. Just make it that much more complicated.
Yeah, no, we'll certainly start digging into that because we know that's coming up. So yeah, that's on our to-do list for sure. I'm sorry, could that first part that you said? Yeah, so I mean, so what we're trying to do is analyze kind of like what's happened to date and what delays we believe are borne by the contractor and what delays are borne by the town, and so that we can see what's a reasonable time extension, because the contractor is essentially saying pretty much all the delays are on the town, which is not the case. Mm.
address that.
Yeah, potentially, that we could uncover something there that, it's could inform the future.
Is it true, if my memory serves me correctly, that there is a time limit on when the contractor can come back to us for time delays?
Yeah, there are notification requirements in the contract for that, and Nina, she's aware of those, and so, we definitely have those.
But is
Yeah.
it safe to say that a lot of the highlighted areas that they are well beyond their limit to submit?
If we go with the contract, yes. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
if I may, we signed a contract for a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
And to advocate the protections afforded in that contract is something I'm personally not really interested in doing. So if there's a lot of money on the line and it seems that the town is the one with the deep pocket and everyone else is looking at that deep pocket. And my job is to say, no, you can't have it. So we need to get factual information. And we need to get it much sooner rather than later, because when this heats up, it's gonna heat up very quickly.
Understood, yeah, yep, understood, and we'll take a look at this, we'll take a look at the schedule and start, doing the analysis, see see what's there. I know that was coming up, and we know that we're gonna have to meet with Nina again to go over all of this and how kind of we're gonna come to a resolution on it, because we are getting close to the end, so.
So when you have a meeting with me, may I ask to be a part of it? At least sit in, become educated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna do like a joint meeting. We try to do that at regular intervals, just to make sure that everyone is up to speed on what's going on. So for sure.
Right, we
Yeah.
all should be on the same.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So. And then the final one is just for Mark's sake, I mean, he's given us his line in the sand date. Are we going to be able to meet based on the schedule in front of us, a realistic schedule, not just a contractor that's on the screen? Being able to meet their timeline. I mean, I think we owe it to Mark to say, yeah, you can have the delivery, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the dates that we discuss, we believe that they're achievable. Obviously, there's a few things that could, but they're still moving on site. Like say, even if we were waiting on at one point we weren't sure when we were gonna get the fire pump for I'm sorry, the pump for the septic system, and but that doesn't mean that the contractor's not moving in all the areas of the project. So but I do believe that the dates that we discussed are reasonable for expectation wise, and as to when the town can move into the building.
I guess what's I'm missing is the contractor schedule
Mhm.
and reality. My understanding, they're not matching. So what's up there saying, early March, yet there's no substantiation to get us to early March. That's what we're looking for. It's like someone's got to get us from today to early March with everything done. Is there a timeline that the contractor can give us?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, like every week, like things change, and we'll we try to get an updated schedule like every month. And so on this one here, there's a number of other activities that are they're not shown here, but we try to get an updated understanding of like where we stand on the project. Every week we have a 3-week look ahead that gets submitted that has more detail than what you would see here. And so yeah, we'll continue to look at that during.
But on that 3-week look ahead, would we get a TCO?
I will have to go back and look at the 3-week.
It doesn't show on the last one, they sent it. So share, see as soon as we get it. But this week they didn't show, we see.
Okay, well, that's 3 weeks, so, but we're in the same here.
Yeah.
We get the. Yeah, so.
Well, I'm a professional,
would it to be beginning of March to be able to moving in the end of it? Like, do we, like, are there major miles, like, are there a couple major milestones that we need to hit in the next 3 weeks? Or I'm just concerned, like, looking at, walk through that building tonight and I'm like, zero checks. Scares the heck out of me. But I didn't know if we get to a certain point by early March. Confident that we could hit that date. Just things we can look at to say, hey, like, this is done, like, is it TCO, like,
They have to have, well, March 3rd, they have to have everything done. Because there's also a time period, there's a punch list time period, there's an affidavit after consultants. So I don't think if they might take them, since they don't get this work not being done. You know, that to me is the first markers. And now, so each week we sit at, we have our OAC meetings and they give us a 3-week look ahead schedule. We can pepper them as we usually do. The questions on, what about this, what about that? I guess get a read on their confidence level. There's a reality too.
Yeah, there's a lot of this. They've lost a month and a month. This is February last month, now it's March. There's a lot that we go wrong. Fire department don't like it, plumbing inspector doesn't like it. Piece of equipment doesn't show up.
There's no access to the building, there's no,
But your point was well taken. So
It's just a lot of risk. You got programs. Can't change your mental last night.
right, that wouldn't be fair, like, that, here, like, we're not gonna get it, I'd rather someone tell me, that it's not gonna say. And then April 15th. That would put us in a really tough spot, so I just want to, all I'm asking is that beginning of March is 2.5, 3 weeks, I understand not a lot of time. I just want to make sure we're going to be optimistic and realistic. I just think we're not going to get into something to just give it out and say, hey, I'm not going to do this.
But hey, Katie, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm still here, Dick. I'm having really hard time hearing your conversation, so I'm trying to
Okay.
be quiet.
A question for you. After O'Connor, says they're looking for their, they've completed their work. They can't get their substantial completion until you do your punch list and you do the affidavits.
Correct.
Question is how long do you think that'll take? So for instance, if Mark does finish all their physical stuff that needs to be done, if by March 3rd, then the next step in this process before substantial completion is your involvement with punch lists and affidavit. How long does that usually take?
So based on the most recent schedule we got from MOCC, they had actually kind of did like a rolling guidelines where they were saying that MEP, FP could come earlier than civil and site. So in their minds, they're forecasting some of that work is done ahead of the others. So and they had architecture in early March. So it's possible that the other engineers and consultants will be able to do a punch list on site and review their scope before I can. There are several things you highlighted that they're applying for a TCO. So things like the parking lot, currently there's a binder course. We know that, that's not going to be resolved before occupancy. So I think there's some scopes that can be reviewed before others. So if my plan is to be out there in early March to do a punch list, it's probably a couple days, all told, might be 2 half days, whatnot. And then primarily it's just going through and looking at the list, there's paint scratches and things like that, and really just narrowing it down to the absolutely critical aspects that are related to life safety. So that's really the only thing that I'm the most concerned about in that review, is to go through and say, okay, is there anything that we're seeing that's related to life safety? So, and I think I heard it mentioned before that if things pop up, the exit sign is in the wrong spot or something like that, those are the things that can kind of, that can quickly derail the project because you have to move some things. So, not tomorrow, but later this week, Deborah and I will be walking, on the site to do a pre-punch list ourselves to kind of get a better sense of that. So we can, you know, see the progress, walk through and see, okay, are there any other things that we need to be, you know, issuing an ASI for or adjusting so that we can do that coordination? But the short answer to your question is once MOCC does their punch list and they hand that over to us and we have that, I think really we just need a couple days to go through and do that, you know, punch list process, you know, hit print on a report. And it's the reviewing of that list really to figure out what, if anything, are life safety. And that's the issue. That's what it comes down to, releasing the affidavit. So it's not, you know, it's not necessarily about the paint items, but it's making sure that the building's occupiable. I'm not sure if that's answering your question.
Katie, do you review that with the town before you issue your affidavit?
What do you have something specific in mind, Barry?
No, no,
Like the kind of
just in
things?
general, just in general.
Generally the list that we do, we put it together and you know, share it with the group to say, these are the things that we're finding. If there's something that looks like it might be suspect, and Igley mentioned before, the kitchen equipment was, you know, getting installed. So it was delivered a few weeks ago. They were setting everything up. There was a potential hiccup where the, you know, one of the piece of equipment was very close to the electrical panel. We had flagged that a week or two ago in a field report to say, hey, heads up, you might want to talk to the inspector because this could be okay or it might not be. The contractor has had those conversations. They were, you know, coordinating to make sure that that would be acceptable. So on the, you know, building department side, yes, there's been some coordination on that. You know, we'd be sharing the list, you know, with Colliers, and that can be shared within, you know, with everyone. If there's something that we think that might be, I guess, directly affecting Parks and Rec or COA or something, I'm sure we could share a copy of that. But like I said, in general, we're going through and looking at the scope that was owned in the contract documents to make sure that, you know, you got the service that you bought.
Right.
And if you're interested and you want to walk around with blue tape, I'm sure we can get you signed up for that.
Sure.
Still trying to get back on to Mark.
Yes,
When do we get to give him a yes, or a no, and what date would that be? In other words, he's got some communication that's gonna go out to his constituents, and that is gonna be late March,
March 12th.
March 12th.
We have to know, so I would say March 30th. You know, I guess I look at it as life and safety is one thing. I think the town standard thing is different. But you know, so I think it's great, like obviously, we're not gonna open the building unless life and safety is the thing here, but. There's a higher standard I look at to open that building, so even if we hit that one. We gotta hit a higher standard than just life and safety to open that building, and I think that's, I'd say March 3rd, like I would have to know, you know, by then to say, hey, we can. Go with these programs, or hey, we gotta come up with something. Because like the punch list, I mean, to do that punch list while the building is active, or a large chunk of that list, I think it's.
So now you guys have a good idea of
Yep.
the time frame that you could go back to the rest of the team and say, look. March 3rd, we need to know, are you gonna be open and done? Not just life safety, but is this building gonna be truly occupiable? Yes or no? And in fairness to them, he just wants the truth.
Yep.
At least be committed to be.
Mm.
What we can't do is string them along.
Yeah, I think Marcia would definitely have a, much better idea, as to, the progress on site and, what are we looking at for, the certificate of occupancy and, some of the other items that were, are still kind of like in the gray area. So,
Okay, well, again, I'd ask then that you're informing this, the building committee. The day or two before, and then there's communication,
mhm.
green light or red light.
Yeah. Yes,
Starts that. So. Problems in the big grill.
so we could do like we did today, we'll walk through,
That's a
get a little.
No, I don't see any way of getting certificate, temporary certificate of occupancy if there is.
Is there anything else you need, Mark, or that you're aware that COA might need?
No, I think COA and the same page with that, I don't think they've scheduled things, I think they were kind of taking a cautious approach. So I think they've waited till like May or June, but yeah, I think their concern is obviously outside access, making sure it's obviously like, their constituents can get into the building safely and it's not something that's
So snow and ice on plastic is good, it's faster.
steps out of.
Might be okay, but want it to be a great finished product. Take so long to do, but we want it to be presented to the town with good quality.
Yeah, but if we get substantial, I'm just saying. If we do, if it can happen, you get substantial completion, but we get March, still have before you open programs. It's still almost 2 months to clear, finish up the punch list, miscellaneous odds and ends.
It's one thing for that functions to be done, say staff is in there and we're getting accustomed to the building and it's being done. Totally okay.
Mhm.
It's just once we open the door to everybody, that's like, so if it's, things have to be done while staff is there, like that's 5 people, that's COA staff, Parks and Rec, we're talking max of 5 people.
And you just come over here, something that smells.
Right. Still keep. To see us. But I think that's, but yes, we're more than happy to have that happen, so it's really just that end of April, like 28th, we can be open, for that's the.
The date,
Yeah.
28th.
Yeah.
That's when the program.
Also, like I said, you need to know beforehand, you're gonna need to explain again, you need to change the communication.
So we could revisit all this, yeah. To. So I'll send an email.
And
Okay.
moving on, I have another slide on the schedule that's sort of the late activities that we're anticipating. And Katie hinted at the final paving because I just spoke with the contractor's project manager today, and they don't really know when the plants are going to be open for the asphalt. So, and they, right now they're looking at the final paving in May, in the beginning of May. And so I know they want, right now one of the things I noticed is that they tied that activity to the planting. And so they just want to protect the pavement, the final course, once it goes in, they want to protect it from equipment or anything that could be, dirt, from the planting activities. But also wanted to share this with you because these are activities that would happen later after certificate of occupancy, for example, and Katie, I know you had a, good example, the building needs to be accessible, like it needs to, in order to get your certificate of occupancy.
So does that
Yeah, yeah. Well, they can, they have temporary striping, they were planning on having temporary striping and then. Yeah.
Walk in.
Yeah.
Spring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And.
For, yeah, yeah,
What is it? Is that?
yeah, it's. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
That's why when you say risk, I would also look at one and, 3.5 foot snowstorm that brought down highway garage, that would be risk. If. If I don't know. Yeah. It's correct.
Yeah, right now it's slated for the beginning. I mean, this is one of the things I wanted to ask tomorrow, because we just got this schedule on Thursday, so we haven't really had a chance to dig into it much. But definitely want to look into this, see if there's anything with it, because and also, I know we were planning on discussing a ribbon cutting ceremony. I think it obviously would be good if the final brand new pavement would be,
you literally, then it's last one out and goes off for some holidays. Still very.
Yeah.
And based on the conversation we had earlier with all the planting, is that worth pulling from the contractor and having it done ourselves?
Well, it's, the planting is weather dependent.
Yeah.
As long as the contractor is mobilized and ready to go, and we're already, species, trees have been hacked. Some done. So, but the town is full.
I'm saying.
Just wanted to ask, we have spoken about things that have been value engineered, and if there is any contingency left, to do plantings in the front of the building the way they are originally intended. So that's what made me think of it.
No, I don't. And again, it's gonna be. Weather. So.
and seasons. Mhm.
Perfect, it's 70 degrees.
Mhm.
You just don't.
Mhm.
So we have to flush that out, how logistically, it's building to be maybe open by.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but that's one of the reasons why I brought it up, because I know we were talking about moving dates and whatnot, and the pavement is the one that still out there. Okay, any other questions on schedule? Moving on to the budget, not a lot has changed. We have 3 invoices for the month of January that I will be presenting in a few minutes. I updated the risk log or potential exposures. So we have right now 91,000 in construction potential change orders, and I'll present what that is in a second. And then 250,000 in soft cost potential change contingency impacts to the project. And I'll go over what that is in a second. So worst case scenario, say all of that were to be approved. as presented, that's 343,000. We're still tracking a remaining contingency of 44% or 1,068,000. Dick, I know you sent an email last Friday, start thinking about some of the VE items earlier in the project. So right now, one thing I want to know that is these potential exposures, they do not capture the VE items. I wanted to get a understanding today of where we're kind of leaning towards, and then I will track that in the log as a potential exposure.
Yeah, I think let's start with our risk.
Yeah.
Right, and part of that risk is going to be including your expertise. We haven't
Yep.
discussed, we still have to go through. Our architects, digital services, which we're not prepared to discuss tonight. We just received that on Friday. And we're gonna make sure that we are capturing all the potential risk. Including, we think we might end up with block. No, who knows the percentages in order to. Tackle some of the items, which we'll hit that a little later.
Sounds good. So any questions on the overall project budget? All right, so let's look at some of the pending changes. Anything that you see highlighted in yellow, it's different than what you saw last month. So as you can see, we have a few new change orders. A lot of these numbers that are kind of whole numbers, 2,500, 5,000. This is just rough estimates that I put in there. We don't even have the pricing from the contractor yet. The ones in blue are the ones that I would like to present to you all tonight for approval recommendation to take a vote. Starting with number 35, and I have some notes here. So PCO 35 is for $3,095.43. That's down from just over 9,000 after going back and forth with the contractor. There was some scope that they had included in as part of this potential change order that was actually part of the base contract, and so we had them remove that. And this is basically for additional metal framing and drywall due to existing conditions verification in the project. And one thing I do want to note, and this goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the contractor including a time impact on a lot of these change orders. So the reason why you see the letter CCD in red, that stands for a construction change directive. It's a little bit different than a potential change order. CCDs is a mechanism in the contract that essentially protects the owner from unfair or unreasonable cost pricing or time extensions. In this case, the pricing seems okay, but they were including on this one an 8-day time extension for that work, which we don't agree with, and that's the reason why instead of being a change order, a potential change order, this will be a CCD. But that doesn't change anything as far as today. On the approval recommendation, it still needs a signature from the town, just like a potential change order. And the other thing too is just one thing I want to note is that the previous version of this PCO did not include any time extension, and so this is M. O'Connor saying their argument for the time extension is, well, we're past the day when the project was supposed to be completed, so we're going to include a time impact on every PCO, regardless of whether the work is considered a critical path or not. So we just can't get behind the time extension. That's why we're recommending a construction change directive.
Did they provide a schedule? I'm sure you do a CCD. You can accept a change order without time. CCDs that are type of contract clause. But I would let town council sort of figure that one out.
Were you thinking of maybe just striking out the time impact and signing it?
That's typically what
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can shoot an email. Yeah.
This is for you, Steve.
Mhm. Mhm. I can shoot her an email. Yep. I'll shoot her an email and see, because we have 3 of these that are in the same boat, so I could shoot her an email and see what she,
Do you think
yes. Yeah. Do we wanna vote on each one of these individually, or?
Okay, well, what I ask, is there an objection to PCOs that are highlighted in blue? Dimension changes.
Well, I don't know about them, so this is changes within the contract, and then the other 3, I'm kind of questioning. Now, almost $80,000 in material stocking, but revisions to roof monitor. Did we ask for an ASI to usually gets additional instructions, changes?
Why don't you take us through, 74, 75, and 76?
Yep. So 74, the restocking fee, it is exactly that. It's a restocking fee, 25% restocking fee for storm drainage structures. And the reason for that is as a result of Mike and Jerry's, he's like the town's like stormwater inspector.
He was an engineer.
An engineer, yeah. So essentially the materials were ordered as per the permitted and approved construction drawings. However, once we started construction, there were some additional comments from Mike and Jerry, and we changed that resulted in changes in the storm drainage systems in the project, and some of the material had already been ordered. And all the backup was included in the PCO. We've looked at this extensively with all of these with the design team and Colliers, and yeah, it's 7,863.
Who will be paying the restocking fee to?
That will be that will be paying the contractor will pass that along to the it's her name,
Yes.
and the contractor pays it to the vendor. Yeah.
But we should what the change in storm.
Yes, there were other change orders associated, but did not include the restocking fees.
Things that will include all costs.
Mhm.
That you get. Why is this all this?
Yeah, I think this was just wasn't captured at the time. I don't know if you have any more than that, or Katie, I don't know if this work. Yeah, so I mean I can pull it up because all the dates are. Thank you.
Then is it on the time of being able to submit? I mean, we have a contract. And if they're just gonna start plugging in and digging us for 8,000 a year, 3,000 a year. I understand that, so that doesn't mean we have to agree.
Yeah, so it was back from it was shipped in August of last year. I believe they were, right? Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So that's 74. Let me pull up.
So just go back, separately. Approved plan, orders and structures, because there's a long lead time, structures.
Yeah.
Right, that's all, they're made, per the specifications, they arrive on site. There's issues now with these this material had to be remade. And that's what this is about. Why was there an issue? It's the next question.
Well, so this came from recommendations from Mike and Jerry to make the stormwater system be more efficient. Yeah.
Any other discussion on PCO 74? Okay, let's go to the next.
So 75, this is actually the soffit at the light monitor. This is in the pavilion building, the community center where we were standing earlier. It's the soffit, the underside, and this was a result of a concern from the building committee earlier in the project about the material itself. It was going to be exposed to the elements. And so that was changed over from like a wood, exposed wood material to standing seam metal. For durability and whatnot. And same 7900 and same issue with the CCD. On this one, I think they were including what, 6 days? Yes, and this is non-critical path work. This is just outside the building. There's no other trades that there's following these or
And Colliers has vetted this, I mean, just because that light monitor is not that big. And to get to $8,000 seems like a lot. But you've been through this. And
Yeah.
I think it's all fair and reasonable labor.
Yeah, the labor materials. It's just that, the extension is what we did do.
But, so this was in the plans and needed to be changed?
No, it's different. So there's a exposed wood soffit, and then they changed it to exterior grade plywood with metal, like brake metal on the underside just for durability reasons.
And to make it maintenance free.
So, but who changed it?
Recommendation from the building committee. I believe it brought up.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, the bond, yeah.
And then the last one, house shield, $1,635.88. There was a concern raised by the abutter at 12 Whiting Road regarding being able to see from their house into this is for the parking pole lighting. There was a concern about being able to see the lights themselves, the bulbs. And so this is to add 2 light shields that can be attached on that side of the 2 pole lights closest to the abutter's property line to mitigate that concern.
And this is 12
Whiting Road.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're all, yes, they are, but the concern that was expressed by 12 Whiting Road was, kind of the elevation to the house, look through their windows. Because I believe out, they're looking kind of more horizontal and. So we went and said that these particular lights that were selected. Nifty little piece of metal.
And oil and do it. Yeah. So, yeah, so the time you're also stripping out of this.
Yes.
Number.
Correct.
And I just smell the mooks piling on, trying to say, no, but look at all these time charges. So these have to go in with the dispute and saying, no, we do not agree to them, not part of the critical.
Yep.
You need to document everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is they included 1 day for this one, and I mean, it's clear that can be done anytime. It's not part of the critical path.
For potential change. If not, then what's the total?
Yeah, I can do the math here. Actually, I have something open. I may be able to do it right here, actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. There you go. So the total there is 20,572.40.
I move that we recommend for approval to the Board of Selectmen. Recommendation of approval of PCOs 35, 74, 75, and 76. For a total amount of $20,572.40. Based on no time extensions. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, are you in favor?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes,
And I am a yes also. Next.
Good. There's one that I have highlighted in green here. That was a CCD that was issued previously, so that was approved by the town. And that was for time and material work, plus overhead and profit. This value here, this is the overhead and profit. That wasn't, part of that CCD. So but that's been approved already. So I just wanted to just let you guys know on that
But
one.
again, though, what is the timing of this, Al? Is number 6 and 7 from 2023, and they're adding this on right now?
So this is already approved by the town as a CCD, as a construction change directive.
That's not my question.
Mm.
They're submitting that 1,137 now for something that occurred many moons ago.
This one is fairly recent. This is from.
This was pretty.
Okay, I'm just looking at number 6 and 7 in the 70s.
Different PTD, but PCD is 6 and 7. PPO is 7. I was like, yeah, just that's why I was like.
Or is this the Polish thing?
Yeah, that's all that's there pending. So that's the 91,000 that yeah. That's the first one that you're looking at, right? Yeah, that's the one we've been having a lot of back and forth pretty much since early in the project. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the change orders, pending change orders. However, these are for soft costs, so this is not for the contractor. Basically, the additional services that we discussed earlier. And these are the numbers that we're anticipating. And so the first two that you see here is from the architect. There's 2 additional services that we're looking at here, and these two cells here were presented during the last building committee meeting, but we now have a number associated with these, and these were just sent out, so I know that everyone's still reviewing, but I wanted to make sure I'm capturing the most accurate information as potential exposure. So we'll be discussing that during the next building committee meeting once you'll have a chance to review. And then the other one is the one that we discussed earlier. That's Collier's additional services for the 3 months, not to exceed of 90,000. Any questions on this? And this is all captured in the worst case scenario, 44% remaining contingency.
Okay, so that is part of,
Yes.
you captured FM in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's capturing there. The one thing that I want to add for the next building committee meeting is any VE items that we want to bring back to the project, because that's also part of a potential contingency use. Yeah.
Why don't we get a little further down the road then before we start opening that spigot? Because a lot of the items that you're talking about, there's going to be less and less propensity at the selectman level to approve these. So you've got to understand that this is not just a pile of money that everyone gets to come to the shop and eat on.
Yeah, I think, let's, I don't know, let's keep moving our meeting on. I do want to discussion the items.
Okay, great.
Remember all, before,
Yeah.
today, with the information.
Yeah, I agree. It's a call.
Mhm.
Let's finish up the meeting and go.
So yeah, so now bringing it all together, contingency, our original contingency for the project was 2.4 million. We've used up 1 million, about 1 million of that. And should all the potential changes that I presented before, so basically all these construction pending change orders of 91,000 plus the soft cost change orders of 251,000, should all of that be approved, that is 342,000, we're anticipating a 43.73% contingency left on the project. That's just over $1 million, $1,068,000. One thing I want to compare that I got against the anticipated remaining contingency worst case scenario right now. Construction is 91% built. Overall project is around 81% built. Any questions on this?
We all bought out with all the furniture and technology and all,
Yes.
that's already.
Yep.
So there's no risk there.
Okay, moving on to the invoices, there's only 3 of them. So we have M. O'Connor's pay app number 19 for the month for January services. The total that the invoice was $913,198. Of that, once adjusted for the withholding, we're recommending approving $894,366. And then we have the next one, we have Colliers, which is not a time and material not to exceed. We were pretty close to that not to exceed during the month of January. So that was $29,925. And then we have Eagle Leasing for $398. That's for the container rental. And like I mentioned briefly earlier, we don't have an invoice from FMA. We're still working through the ad services proposal. Idea is to present it to everyone during the next building committee meeting so that there's something that they can bill against.
Any discussion on the invoices? Okay, if not, we recommend for approval to the Board of Selectmen. A total of $924,689.19 for the monthly invoices for the month of January. Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Approval? David?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes,
And I'm a yes also. No?
Next one I saw on your agenda, Dick, was the signage review. So
Yeah, sign review, we've got another version of the signs based on, comments we received back from everybody, so thank you for those comments. I think basically, there was, the, colors was the top and the main topic, and then room names. The committee's had time to take a look at the sign package, which forwarded along last week, but essentially, that's the color palette that FM is recommending, and dovetails slowly into the rest of their, color scheme of the building.
Color scheme, so.
Okay. And then. Okay, what's that? Okay. Now.
That's already over its colors. Oh, good. This is one thing I say, thank you for making suggestions, but the one COA time again, they just normally the lounge area, they prefer not to be called a lounge. Just the perception of, kind of someone lounging or, I think more as like, hey, we're gonna drink at the lounge, so, if there's a chance, we could rename that to gathering room. One maybe we threw around there is the study, something that just wasn't, I know it's still listed on the sciences.
Right, okay. Why don't I bring that up tomorrow? Katie, we can talk about that. You need to come up with a name for it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's talking together. Today, yeah, it's a space that will obviously have books and a place for people to gather, to go and not just COA, obviously throughout the, community. But yeah, there's gonna be places to sit, there's gonna be a TV, there's gonna be books, so it just the perception of the name.
What about gathering space?
Yeah, the gathering room is.
Yeah, I didn't know about the gathering. space.
So I was playing, wait, hold on.
It's just how we're here.
Well, I'm sorry.
I just prefer sound of gathering space rather than gathering.
Gathering space, gathering room.
Mini community.
I think either one of those would work,
What's the larger room for?
the community.
Okay, so.
Say.
So,
What, that's my own.
But. Once they start that, it's very expensive to change. They've started fire alarm, we're gonna go through fire alarm panel as it's on the lines. If we want anything changed, do it very quickly, it's very expensive. Those guys to change it.
Okay, houses, if we, why don't we see what the recommendation also would be from them? They go to the Jackson, we go to gather. I am inclined with it.
Spaces in.
Val? Hey, Barry?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, we were just, talking about the, changing the name of the, lounge, to gathering room. Wondering if you have any, suggestions on what we could rename it as, or if you're okay with the name gathering. As opposed to lounge. Oh, this is. Barry, so do you have any comments on that?
I like gathering room. I think that's fine.
You okay with gathering room?
So the other term AI, then look behind. Spot, name like cozy corner, village square, community nest, community space, the well, the porch, the hearth, or the green room.
Yeah. That's. It's left, you pay for eleven, sorry. That's where you pull it right. More choice than you want.
All right. We're not making definitive decision yet. I'd like to just hear Beth. But to think about it, why don't we say that if anybody has a change of mind, let me know by Wednesday. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, because they, you know. Some other ideas.
It does. It's space for you to gather, such as watching sports, playing games, spending time with friends and family. What's your purpose?
All right, we good on?
Yeah,
Okay.
just one, the original design is, there was a 214 that had, I think, the waiting area upstairs, but this list is not, is that just?
That's a very good question. I'll take that up with them. Yeah.
I just noticed, comparing it to the last one, it just, that was the one that was missing.
Lines with the fire alarm. It's all, everything's.
Yeah, this is, this wasn't it, this. The 214. That's the room, go up the second floor, first door to the right. That area, big hall and the play space for kids and stuff. That sign is scheduled. Yeah. Mark, thank you for picking up on it.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Okay, it's the signage, any other? So second. Something package. Okay, value engineering items, I think it's really important that we need to just make sure that you're very thorough and really gotten all the risk into forecasted into that, main contingency. So I put together the list of items which were weeded out originally in the project, taken out of the project in the second go round with bidding. Obviously, there were other items too, but that's past, that's well beyond that. But these are some items which we could possibly read back into the project. So we don't, okay, thank you. One is, so we don't have to make a recommendation right now, but I think we need to, this pricing is all based on 2022. If we are, seems to me, if we are interested in entertaining the thought of maybe making a recommendation to reduce these back into the project, we need to have updated pricing. So I think the first step is to see if we are into this, see if we are interested in recommending, reintroducing these, which items those would be, then we can update the pricing for those items, and then we can have further discussion once we have updated price. So I just wanted to ask the committee, what their appetite is for, let's take one, in looking into updating pricing for vertical, trellis. And that's that area by the, Joe pointed out to you. I think it would be my personal opinion, I think it would be great to reintroduce.
Something. Yeah. People are getting price point.
On board with that too? Site walkway, this is that walk. That kind of bordered Center Street. Did it for you.
Oh,
Oh,
I think I'm. She was looking at the COA.
Yeah, I think all of these, yeah. But yeah, we need to talk today. I know it's the value.
And that's to the sidewalk and the. Yeah.
I think my one thought with the sidewalk and the seat wall. It's gonna be so much less. That's digging up whole areas.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of this is that those two items are ones which should be tackled.
If you're gonna,
Yeah, right away. So I'll weigh in, my personal opinion is I'm the site walkway, I'm not a big fan of spending that kind of money for. Yes, it is something that could be added later. The stone seat walls, my personal opinion is there were 3 of them we axed out. I think it'd be, one of which, I thought that was a loss to the project and the spirit of bringing community together to be able to have these fixed stone seat walls, that are on the outside of the building. We had 3 that were taken out. The reality is we would only, I would recommend we put in 2 out of the 3 because one of them is near a bike rack and there are some grading issues which you have not seen yet. That we're thinking about moving the bike rack and that would interfere with that position of that 3rd site wall, seat wall.
I like the idea of the community, I just don't know whether stone seating is the right thing, whether it's accessible or that people would.
Yeah, it's a place to perch. Yeah, that's if you're. If, just if you've got some kids playing.
Yeah, I do want you to do these points, so this.
One level. Yeah, I think you could buy it. I think the price is more, so.
Yeah, it's going to be more than.
It's a 42,000. So
I would think all the,
it is. I think it's exactly.
well, they need to.
These for sure, this sense.
It's very finish. Very hardy, looks like, but it's plastic and they can be moved around by people or.
This is the Paul. You know, these stone ceilings don't have to be stone, they can be fixed. Like bench type things we can buy for a lot of this money and then bolt them down. What's that? No, it's not. We do, now remember, we do have one in the bunker,
Yes, we do.
which remains, and that's outside of the pavilion.
So we want something to match that.
That's my opinion, yeah. Okay, well, do we go through a pricing effort for these, for 2 stone seats? One for.
So it's just a matter of repackaging and getting them to the back end.
You know, ASI, keep it, ask for pricing. And we've got all the details and location. My recommendation would be the pricing for the sidewalks. Now, do we want to get pricing for the walkway?
Yeah.
You're out on that. Okay. Site furniture. These are tables and chairs, and we have by a small little print here, and these yellow dots. That's not. And they're crossing.
At least. I think that adds up.
I'm sorry, Dick, I haven't been able to hear. Are you suggesting that these be outside the construction contract
Yes, we can do that.
afterwards?
I would recommend.
Yeah. For local would be production site furniture. That's why.
Not info.
My one concern with any furniture is if it's not bolted down, we're gonna go have to find it places. Just nice. It never doesn't stop. It's installed, it just gets moved. Yeah, you're gonna find it everywhere, it's gonna be on the lawn, it's gonna be so. That.
Site furniture.
Yeah, this means just have it's no, and it's saying. But you're gonna. Pretty bad.
Yeah.
So there's 12 pages, 48 years.
But it's very important.
Yes, we do.
So,
Yeah.
and that's not.
Well, it's on play.
So this one,
That seems like a lot of shares.
well, it's 12 tables, 48.
No, it seems like a lot of meetings at the table.
Well, you can take a look at, this might pull, pull this off. Sorry, no, it's here. So, yeah, on the screen, but I'll go with this.
And you get 4 chairs and a table. You can hold one.
It'd be good to look at when you're building finished, the.
Yeah.
What's needed, what those were.
So, would you please, gather up, not through Mark, but, with the information. We can figure that out. What's that?
The trellis work and the stone walls.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't make myself clear, just like communication.
I did it.
Yeah. State contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's say landscape material, at the time, we basically did, okay, we're cutting money, we'll put percent out of landscape. Plan to. That's something we wanna look into replace. Deciding on what to do. Road.
I'm fine if you do want to go ahead, I just don't want to give people more work to do when they're already busy, when we could do that and landscaping and see how it looks.
We could. So it's good to, this is one that. Wise to roll into.
Yeah.
All right, now, so basically in this list, pricing, update pricing, will accept the site walkway. That was where I was at with the.
Dave, but I had just one question.
Yeah.
It came up with a key schedule. I know it's talking about the potential to look at hard access for a few additional. But just to get, not wired like they are now, but, there are ways, whether it's through Wi-Fi or just. Some of the rooms gonna have potentially 15 to 20 people that we need access in terms of structures. To have kind of limit the amount of keys we're giving. So one thing that was brought up during the key schedule was that there is potentially a way to make them hard access. But I don't know, Alex, you know where that left with the key schedule? That.
I have to ask them, I'm not sure.
So we give that. Yeah. On the studio. We could have 7 or 8 instructors in each of CLA could have 7 or 8 instructors that would prefer not to give everyone a key. Yeah. So to kind of eliminate what happened at the Carroll Community Center. Well, keys being given out and not knowing who has to be and collecting at the end, and so it was mentioned to the company, and they said there is something to do without hardwiring, because I think the ones in the plans hardwired.
Yeah.
These would be hard, they would just be what division is a Wi-Fi.
Try out a little gizmo like this.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean,
The townhouse. We're going with these, and the biggest thing is that this, a key is lost or is not returned. They simply go to a laptop and disable it and issue, and then you're only secure. But if you can use these things in the new building, it would make a ton of sense.
and that's, yeah, the intent. Yeah. Same thing for everyone.
Did that all come
With that,
Did you guys, you all have any?
Yes, we met with the key schedule, we met with the. But we had given a spreadsheet of every single door and we included keys and who would have access and all that, but. Some extra. And to me, I don't think it's a huge number in terms of, we just want to get an estimate of what it would cost, and talking with Mike Blanchard. We felt should get an estimate.
Do you recall?
I can pass on the spreadsheet.
Okay.
We created, and it's all highlighted, and I think there was was. You know, I think it was like 5 ones, but yeah, it's like it was, it's mostly, I know the studio was on there, the activity room, second floor, so all the space is gonna be shared, but I can send those.
And you guys, oh, and we'll see.
Okay, yeah.
Well, thank you. Ribbon cutting, I think is the last item, it's, I think that's kind of on hold, we need to establish a date for it. But we can start thinking about what we're gonna do then. So. Opened up a lot of.
That's the contingency.
Exactly. So.
Just that way.
Well, we'll have to. We have to. Yeah. Okay. All right. Citizen comments. Anybody online? Get this. Technically, we are in 10-person meeting. Okay, future business recommendations. We will be getting together before our next monthly scheduled meeting. And I'll send out an email for dates. Great. Okay, anything else? Right, and move then that, we adjourn this meeting. Is there a second? Okay, are you there?
Are you sure?
Barry?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm that's as well. Oh,
Thanks, everyone.
Barry.